Hey there, Sunshine Cummings here, and I want to share my cerclage journey with you. If you are thinking about getting a cerclage, if maybe a doctor has shared with you that you might want to consider one, and you just wanted to do some research to see what it entails, what it's all about, what it is, then you've come to the right video, because I just want to share my journey with you and some general information, basic information about cerclages. Just in this one video, there's some amazing videos out there, some very courageous women who share their journeys on YouTube all the time, and they're sharing it as they go along, so they never know what's going to happen, whether it's going to be a success or not. So kudos to them for doing that. But for me, I just wish at the time of my journey, when I was going through everything, that I just had one video to watch to kind of give me some general information about cerclages, and then maybe hear a little bit about what that woman may have experienced throughout her whole journey, versus watching video after video after video to be on the journey with her, along the way. It just would have been more helpful for me. I apologize for my voice. It is allergy season and the pollen is kicking my butt, so bear with me. But the reason for my cerclages was I had 2 second trimester miscarriages at 22 weeks of pregnancy. For both of them, they happened exactly the same way. My water just broke, and I went into spontaneous labor within 24 hours. I had vaginal births for both, and the babies did not make it because they hadn't reached viability yet, and there was nothing that the doctors really could do to save them at that stage of gestation. So with the third pregnancy, it was suggested to me that I might want to look into getting a cerclage, because with the second pregnancy, I did get progesterone shots. That may have been something that was suggested to you as well, if you have had a miscarriage and the reason is not necessarily known. It was suggested that I get progesterone shots because basically progesterone, what it does is help women to go to term if the issue is a hormonal one, and if you're not producing enough progesterone. That clearly was not my issue, because I still had the same scenario happen with my second pregnancy. So it was suggested that I get a cerclage with the third pregnancy, because clearly there may be a physical issue with my cervix itself, and there was that. My cervix is just weak, or it was weak at the time. They call it incompetent cervix, but I don't like that. It's very disempowering to women, so I say weak cervix. So if you have a weak cervix, or you're not really sure whether you have a weak cervix or not, but you've experienced miscarriage and someone suggested maybe looking into getting a cerclage, then you want to watch this video. Maybe grab a pen and paper, so you can take some notes, so you can run them by your professional, your healthcare professional, to see if maybe this is the option for you. If you know this is the option for you, then great, you're at the right video, just to get it all in one little one setting. And I do have my cerclage here that I'm going to show you at the end of the video, what it actually looks like, the cerclage that was actually in me around my cervix that helped me carry my rainbow baby to term. So real quickly, there's preventative cerclages, which is what I had. I got mine at 14 weeks. That's usually when you know that there's an issue with your cervix. You get it earlier on in the pregnancy. You schedule an appointment, it's surgery, and you go in, you get it done. There's also emergent or emergency cerclage, which I have experience with that as well. Not personal, but my cousin experienced having an emergency cerclage with her first pregnancy. So she was very blessed in that sense, because she went in for her ultrasound and they saw that her cervix was way short. Her water bag was actually bulging, and they were able to push it back in and do the cerclage on her in an emergency style, so it wasn't anything they knew that they planned. It was just they went in, ultrasound, routine ultrasound, saw an issue, went ahead and did the cerclage. So those are the two different I guess reasons why you may get a cerclage: to prevent your cervix opening early to carry your baby to term, or to prevent, an emergency situation from taking place. So I had the preventative one at 14 weeks. There are 2 types of cerclages. There's the mcdonald, which most doctors perform, and there's the shirodkar. I think I'm saying that right. I'm not sure. Shirodkar or something like that. And the mcdonald basically is a simple cerclage procedure. You just wrap the cerclage around the cervix, and then they just tie knots. Tie knots, tie knots, tie knots. So it's literally like, this is your cervix. It's wrapped around, and this piece This here would be a series of knots. And when you see my cerclage, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. With the shirodkar, it's kind of the same thing, but instead of just wrapping around the cervix, they're actually like sewing through the cervix, I guess for extra tightness or what have you. Like I said, it is surgery. It's not major surgery, but it is considered surgery, so you do have to get some type of anesthesia. It may be like a spinal, which is kind of like an epidural, but they say it's stronger, or general anesthesia, where you're not awake for the procedure at all. Some doctors give you a choice in the matter, some may not. It just may depend on your health and your personal situation. I got the spinal, and funny story about that, when you go in for your cerclage, remember, do not eat anything the night before. Now, yes, I know that is obvious. It's surgery. You clearly do not eat anything before you go into surgery the night before, but I'm pregnant. I was pregnant at the time, and I woke up and I wasn't even really that hungry, but I said, you know what, I'm pregnant. I need to have something on my stomach. I was nervous. I didn't even want to eat. And I had a boiled egg and some water. That's it. My procedure was scheduled for 7 o'clock that morning. And I know you don't eat when you get in surgery done, but I worked in the medical field. I really did for a while, and in labor and delivery, believe it or not. And I just thought to myself, okay, I'm getting a spinal, which is like an epidural. Women come in all the time and they have emergency C-sections. They may have eaten an hour before that. They may have eaten 10 minutes before coming into the hospital, you know, and they still get it done. So, you know, it just did not click for me. I was very nervous. I was anxious about getting it done. So just wasn't thinking right. So do not eat. Make sure you find out exactly when you're supposed to stop eating for the day or for the night. My procedure, like I said, was scheduled for 7 o'clock in the morning. I didn't get it done until 12 because they had to let the food digest 4 hours before they were able to do the anesthesia on me. So you don't want to have that situation. It was horrible because I ended up not being able to eat anyway, because then I had to wait before I could eat after the procedure as well. So don't do that. We already went over the 2 different types of anesthesia. There's spinal and there's general. I had the spinal. They numb you from the waist down, pretty much like an epidural, but a lot stronger. So you're not feeling a thing. I didn't feel anything. The procedure literally took about 15 minutes, and that was it. It was done. Most of the time was spent waiting to get into the OR, and after waiting for the epidural, the anesthesia to wear off so that I could walk around and feel my legs and all that stuff again. After it was done, like I said, I didn't feel anything. As it started to wear off, there was a little bit of discomfort there, you know, and so they prescribed some painkillers for me to take home, and also something to prevent cramping so that you don't go into labor, so that the procedure doesn't, you know, spark or jumpstart labor. So you do get that. If they don't suggest that, they just give you pain medicine, ask for that. I cannot remember what it's called, I apologize, but ask for the medicine that will help prevent, you know, contractions from starting. So really quickly, that's basically some general information, basically my story. I put myself on strict bed rest. My doctor did not recommend it, but it was just something I wanted to do. I wanted to do everything I could, everything in my power, to make sure that this baby got here. So if it meant just being on bed rest, you know, if there was a possibility that that might help, then I wanted to do it. So I did it. But it was not recommended for me, and I had the luxury of being home, so it was something that I could do. But if you don't have that luxury of being able to be on strict bed rest, or if you just don't want to do that, just please just take it easy. Don't do anything too strenuous, a lot of lifting and all that stuff. Just don't do it. Give your body an opportunity to do what it needs to do. So at 12 weeks when I went in for my consultation, I was 4 centimeters. My cervix was 4 centimeters. 14 weeks after, 2 weeks after that, it was 2.5 centimeters. That was when the cerclage was put in. So you can see that there was a huge shortening, you know, just from 2 weeks. So the cervix cerclage got put in at 14 weeks. At 15 weeks, I measured 3.5 centimeters. No, my cervix did not grow because of the cerclage or anything, but because the procedure, my doctor was able to kind of pull down on my cervix to kind of give it some length before she wrapped it. So it kind of made it seem like it was a little bit longer than it actually was. At 19 weeks, I was 4 centimeters again, but remember, there's 15 weeks, 19 weeks. There's a 4-week jump, and that's because I was transitioning from a different hospital going to a new one, so there probably could be some difference based on, you know, the 2 different equipment that being used, and also the 2 different technicians that was performing the ultrasound. Generally, you have like 2 weeks. Your doctor want to see you every 2 weeks to come in to get cervical length checks, just to make sure everything is progressing and doing what it's supposed to do. At 21 weeks, I was 2.75 centimeters. At 23 weeks, I was 1.6 to 2.3 centimeters. And my doctor sent me immediately to labor and delivery when she heard what I was measuring for betamethasone, which is the steroid shot that they give when you're close to 24 weeks or close to viability. Your baby's close to, you know, surviving once it's born. They'll give that, and that basically strengthens the lungs. It develops the lungs. So if your baby comes early, the lungs are a little bit more mature than they would be at 24 weeks, so that it can survive a little bit better. And the only reason that my doctor did that, it was not something that was standard. She did it because my cervical length dropped so much from the 2 weeks prior, and she was just concerned. She wasn't saying that I would go into labor. She just wanted to take precaution just in case I did, because there was such a huge difference in my cervical length from the 2 weeks prior. So everything was fine. And that shot, betamethasone is what it's called, and it's a 2-day shot. So you get it one day and you have to wait 24 hours, come back the next day and get it again. Worked out well. At 25 weeks, that was after I had the shot and all that, I was 1.7, so around the same. And that was with pressure and also with bearing down. So what they will do is they'll apply pressure to your abdomen to make sure that, you know, when you may be going about your day, doing your regular daily activities, walking around, maybe if you have small children that you're tending to, or doing laundry or dishes or anything like that, that the cervix is still holding in place while you do your everyday activities. So with pressure, it was 1.7 for me. With the bearing down, a lot of times women are constipated in pregnancy, so they want to make sure, like, even if you do strain, that the cerclage is holding up and doing what it's supposed to do. At 27 weeks, I was 1.6 to 2.1 centimeters. At 32 weeks, I was 1.9 centimeters pretty much, and that was my last cervical check. Normally, the last check will be at 28 weeks because doctors is like, okay, your baby's viable. So my apologies, we got cut off for whatever reason, but I was basically saying that at 28 weeks is usually when doctors will request the last cervical check, and that's because at 28 weeks your baby's pretty much viable. They can usually do whatever they can to save your baby. So it doesn't really matter if your cervix is if it's shortening a whole lot or whatever. If you went into labor, they pretty much would do what they could to save your baby and to probably prevent you from going into labor. But if they couldn't, they would try to save your baby pretty much. So they usually stop checks around that time. But for me, my last check was at 32 weeks, like I said, and I measured 1.9. My doctor also wanted to see my cervical length after the cerclage was removed, so we had that done at 36 weeks, and I was still about 1.9 centimeters, and I did have some signs of dilation, and I went into labor shortly after that, like within the week. At 37 weeks, had a 5-hour labor, and they say I'm one of the lucky ones, that usually women who get cerclages, that once the cerclage comes off, that they tend to go past their due date, and you know, at that point the baby doesn't want to come out and the cervix doesn't want to open and shorten, but it did for me, so I was definitely blessed in that sense. So really quickly, I just want to show you what my cerclage looked like, and then we'll be done. So thanks for bearing with me. I know it's kind of a long video, but it's very important. It's very important information, and you definitely should do your research. Don't stop here. Keep going and make the best decision for you and your family, and just trust yourself, trust your instincts, trust your intuition, and you'll be just fine. So this is my cerclage. This is what it looked like, and it was wrapped around the cervix pretty much, and these are the knots I was talking to you about. So it was wrapped around like that and then just knotted to hold it in place, and that's basically it. And there's 2 different materials that are used. I had this like fishing hook material type of thing or whatever it is, and the other type is like a white cloth, like a piece of not string, but like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's like cloth type of material pretty much. So that's that. That's my cerclage. That's my cerclage story, my journey. Best wishes to you. Make the best decision for yourself. Keep doing your research, and You know, if you want to leave any comments below, ask me any questions, feel free to do that. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I also have a blog where I share a lot of this type of information about pregnancy, preconception, infertility, fertility, and postpartum stuff. So check that out. All that information is going to be in the box below. I'm going to give you all the links. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, all of that, just to keep up to date and, you know, keep me posted about your cerclage journey. I would love to hear about it. So I'm Sunshine Cummings, the Real Boss Mom, and I'm signing out. Peace.